everyone, Trish here. Thanks for joining me for another Yoga for Osteoporosis session. And today I want to use weights. So you could use a can of beans or anything you've got on hand. They weigh about 1 pound. Or you could do a box of vegetable broth or almond milk, something like that. These weigh about 2 pounds. Or of course, if you have little hand weights around the house, we're going to use them, 2 of them in some of our standing poses. And let's go ahead and get started with our practice today. Let's all take a deep breath. In through the nose and out the mouth at first, and then maybe just moving into nostril breathing. Continually assessing how your body is feeling so that you can adjust when you need to. Always adjusting out of pain and into a comfortable and strong position. Let the breath get deep and wide. Let all the air out. Maybe drop your chin toward your chest, just slowly stretching out the back of your neck. Bringing the head upright. I'd like to bring my hands together at my heart, or you can leave them laying in your lap. And I just want to take a few deep breaths, centering myself, recognizing myself in this moment, kind of noticing the space that I take up, the air around me, the breath that I breathe, and really validating for ourselves, our own dignity, that we can honor and respect ourselves as we move through our practice today. And we can just bow to that goodness inside of us. And we can even say namaste. As you lift your head, wiggling the fingers, begin to spread them out really wide. And let the belly kind of drop forward as the shoulders lean back and the chest gets bigger and bigger, and you can stretch back with your arms. Take a deep breath in. And on the exhale, roll through the shoulders and wrap your arms around and kind of drop forward slightly, just a little stretch in the spine. Look down, see which arm is on top. And as you lift up, inhale, spread those arms out wide again. And then cross the other one on top as you give yourself another hug and slowly drop the shoulders slightly. Nice work. As you open your arms, this time let them go all the way up. Lean them back just a little bit and then swing them through. Lean forward, keep your spine long, get some weight into your legs. Lean those arms way back and then swing them forward and up. One more time. Inhale and exhale, swing them back. Good. Now, if you need to change the position of your legs, feel free to do that at any time. I'm going to take my hands to my thighs and just lean one shoulder over and then the other. Just the shoulders at first, and even kind of get one shoulder up into the ear, maybe roll it back as you come to the other side. So you almost start to swim a little bit here, and then you can start to add the arms, moving side to side. You could even take one hand over, one arm up. We're just warming up nice and slow. We want to make sure these shoulders get nice and warm. Finally, we're going to reach back again with our arms and then swing one hand across. The other hand is still kind of up in the air behind me, and then swing the other way for the twist. Awesome. One more big breath. Maybe once more to each side. And then back to center. I'm going to come all the way up to a camel pose. I'm on my knees. Now, if your knees are not a good place for you to be, then there's a couple things you can do. Sometimes it'll help to just get a blanket, a really thick one even, and kneel on that blanket. Sometimes that'll be enough of a help. If that's still not good, please go ahead and stand up. You can definitely do this next pose standing as well. We're gonna do a camel pose, but I'd like to do a little variation. So I'm gonna take both of my hands right across my chest. And then I'm gonna take my right hand out and reach it back for my right heel, kind of looking behind me. And I might touch the heel, I might not. And I'm gonna breathe in Lift the belly and then exhale, bring the hand back to the chest and switch. The other hand comes out. We'll reach around behind, leaning back. Take a deep breath. And then up to center. Let's just do one more on each side. And remember, if this doesn't work for you, feel free to take the hands to the low back and just open the chest in a traditional camel pose. So we're reaching back, stretch and inhale, and then the other side. And then we come straight forward onto table pose and take that cat-cow. Rock and spread the ribs. Make sure that your knees are still supported. You might grab a blanket now if you haven't grabbed one yet. We're gonna do a little series here. I'm just swinging my hips side to side. First, we're gonna be in table pose. Then we're gonna step back into plank pose. And you could just walk your knees back or your hands forward and come and do a knee down plank. We just want the shoulders from diagonal down to the knees, or you can curl your toes under, lift the knees up. We always want the hips just a little bit lifted. We don't want to sag in the belly. And then drop the knees back down if they weren't already there. Sink the hips way back. Reach out through those fingertips. Stretch through the armpits. Keep breathing. Coming all the way back up to table pose. We'll roll onto our side into a side plank. And there's 3 variations. Here's the first one. I'm gonna lean into my left hand. My left knee comes right in line with that hand. And I might kick the left foot back as I stretch out my right leg sideways, and then this other arm might reach up. This is a supported side plank. And you can feel that support with that knee underneath you. Please rearrange it to feel supported. And then bring that hand down. We're gonna bring the right knee back to the mat and start to rock to the other side. Right hand, right knee, maybe kick the right foot off to the edge as the left leg reaches out and we open the other way. Deep breath. And then roll back down. Good. Let's come down to our elbows to twist out our wrists and take a quick break. So I want you to be paying attention to which one of the plank variations you like, because we're going to go back again and just do whichever one you prefer. So that's the first plank. Here's the second one. I'm going to reach out with my left leg, keep my left hand on the mat, and slowly come up onto my fingertips of my right hand as I lift my right knee and swing myself sideways. So my right foot is planted still, knee is up. Now this is a little bit harder. Arm can come up. This is another plank position, and then slowly roll back down. The knees come back to the floor. All right, and we try the other side. We lean in, stretch the leg out, and then as we drop the leg, the heel down, we pick up the other knee, foot on the ground, and rise up. Very good. And come back to table pose and down on the elbows to twist out the wrists. One of the things that is difficult for those of us who have osteoporosis in the wrists and the hands, those are difficult places to build bones because they just don't bear a lot of weight. So these are great poses for building those bones in the wrist and hands. Okay, come on back to table pose. Here's the final plank pose. This is a full plank. So I'm gonna reach out behind me with probably both legs would be best. Kind of walk them over to the left edge of the mat as I rock onto the edge of the left foot and stack the right foot on top. Legs are long. This is a big balance. And reach on up. Woo. And this one, you can skip it. You don't have to do it. When you're ready, come back down. Woo. That's a hard one. And set up for the other side. We start in the full plank, and then we just roll onto the edge of the foot. Try to keep the hip lifted in line with that diagonal, and then come back down. Okay, sweet. All right, I hope you've picked your favorite one. And if you don't remember, don't worry. We can figure it out as we go through these again. So just keep that in mind. We're going to keep moving through the series here. We're going to come up to table pose, and this is where we're going to pick up our weight for the first time. So I've got my little 2-pound weight. I'm going to take it, just one this time. I'm going to take it in my right hand. I'm going to start to stretch out my left leg behind me. about to the height of the hip. The foot can be flat or pointed. And then the right arm with the weight in it slides forward, and maybe the weight stays on the floor. Maybe I just slightly lift and lower, or I bring it up to the height of my shoulder. And it, using that core, pull the belly in. You can feel the wobble right away because this is unfamiliar for the body. It's good for it to learn something new. You don't have to stay very long. You know the work is getting done here. Let's just take another breath. And I'm going to set the weight down over by my left hand, bring this hand down, knee down. I'm going to take my knees wide apart and sink into a child's pose to just relax for a moment. And breathe. And we know what's coming. We're going to come right back up to table, knees back under the hips. I'm going to take the weight in my hand so I'm ready here. Lean into the right hand, weight in the left hand. Reach out behind me with the right leg. It lifts up to the hip height. And then I can add the left arm, maybe quite close to the floor, maybe at the level of the shoulder. Watch the neck. Keep it long. Keep the belly pulling in and try to breathe. Try not to lock that elbow that you're resting on in the right arm. And we want to try to take at least 3 breaths. So when we've had that, then we might decide that we're finished. We're going to drop the weight, plant the hand, bring the knee back down, swing the hip side to side, and this time we're going to just twist out the wrist real quickly and then move up into down dog. Of course, you can stay in table and take your cat-cows instead. We're just reaching up through the back of the body, lifting through the sit bones, let the belly sag a little bit. Take a breath. And gently come back down. Good. And I'm going to come right back into my kneeling seated position. You could come all the way into a child's pose at this point. I want to get off of my wrists so I can twist them out real good here. Okay, remember, take care of yourself. Try stuff and let it go if it doesn't work for you. That is just fine. All right, so we're going to do our camel and then our plank and then our side plank, then our extended cat. That's our sequence here. So try to remember which side plank you like. I'm just going to take one more breath here in my low kneel, and I'm slowly going to come up to the high kneel. Make sure my knees have some cushion. Take the hands across the chest. Slide the right hand out and gently reach back. I do like to curl my toes under so I can reach my heels a little better. Just the right heel. I like that stretch, and then swing to the other side. Now, if you don't like it, remember you can do the traditional camel pose here instead. And we're just doing each side twice. Keep on breathing, just let the breath be natural. And bring your hands down into table pose. Once you reach your table pose, tip the tailbone a few times for cat-cow. And begin to think about how you will practice your plank pose. Maybe the knees will be down just on a diagonal from the hips, or the legs will step back. So whichever one you've chosen, come into your plank pose. Take a breath or two there, strengthening the arms. And then begin to set up for your side plank. I'm going to bring my knee down, kick the foot behind, reach out with the top leg sideways, and lift the arm up. This is level 1. This is my favorite one. I love the side stretch. You can even add the stretch over the head here and slowly roll back down, hands and knees. Let's come down and twist the wrists for just a moment. Come down onto those elbows. And then back to table for the other side of plank pose. Just setting it up and taking a deep breath. Coming back down to table, and we're going to set up for our extended cat. So I'm going to take my weight in my right hand, reach out behind me with my left leg first, and then bring the weight hand, the right arm up to where I want it to be for my pose, drawing the low belly in. 3 deep breaths. I'm going to bring the weight back to the mat, bring the knee down, and maybe take a child's pose before I do the other side. Feel free to twist the wrist when you need to, and then bring the weight into the left hand. Reaching out with opposite leg, so right leg reaches back, and then the left arm rises. And of course, if you have decided the weight is not your friend today, you can let that go and just hold the weight of your arm. Maybe one more breath here. And the weight comes down, we put it out of the way. Swing the hips, maybe lift up the hand that we were leaning on there, take a few twists in the wrist as we make our way to down dog. Rock the hips back, lift the legs up, stretch nice and long, deep breaths. And I'd like to just move through that sequence one more time. And you might choose a different side plank pose this time. Just roll in the shoulders, swinging the shoulders side to side a little bit in our low kneel here. Good. Really make sure the wrists feel okay. If your wrists have had enough, it's a lot, then you can do this whole sequence on your elbows. It's harder. That's called forearm plank. It's much harder than regular plank, or you can just skip it. All right, you guys ready for this? I'm gonna slowly come up for my camel pose. Take the hands across the chest, reach back with the right. I'm gonna curl my toes under so I can reach that heel. Stretch, and then switch sides. Just feel the breath and the strength in the body. Moving slowly to table pose, or maybe you've decided you're down on your elbows and you're taking your cat-cow. Just 3 or 4 deep breaths here. Moving slowly into your plank pose. Maybe you're stretching the legs back or keeping the knees close to the floor. You're still engaging those beautiful core muscles as you take a few breaths. And you start to set up for your plank, your side plank. Maybe you're stacking the legs, maybe one foot comes forward as you reach upward. When you feel strong there, you roll to the other side. Gently coming back to table. Swinging those hips, and we're going to pick up the weight with our right hand first, or maybe you've had enough of the weights and you're just going to skip the weight this time. You reach back with the left leg, get steady, and then add the right arm, taking those deep breaths, drawing the belly in. Lowering the weight to the floor so you have both hands back on the mat. Feel free to take a child's pose and twist out the wrists for a moment. Switching the weight to the other hand, we reach out with the right leg and add the weight. Deep breaths. Keep that low belly engaged. And we set the weight down, bring the hand to the floor, take our knees wide apart. One more child's pose before we slowly transition to our standing poses. I'm just gonna rest for about 3 or 4 deep breaths. Knees wide apart, hips back toward your heels. Remember, you can always roll onto your back for this pose if your knees are also kind of tired of being squeezed. Maybe rock a little bit if it feels good to you. And slowly, really slow motion, walk to table pose, and then stretch the hips up into down dog. Start to look forward and walk your hands and feet together so that you come into your supported forward fold. And you might want to grab your weights when you're in this position. I have to walk forward a little bit. We're going to use our weights right away. So I'm going to take a weight in each hand. Still in my supported forward fold. And then I'm going to slowly stand up. So I'm going to use my hands on my thighs and stand up. Swing my hips a little bit. And I can feel the weight in my arms, maybe kind of swing the arms a little bit. Our first standing pose, and we're going to be moving through a sequence here again. Our first standing pose is chair pose. So you already have added weight to your body by just simply holding those weights. So I'm going to have my feet about hips width apart as I start to bend into the knees and sink into a very simple chair pose, shoulders over the hips. Then I might go a little deeper. I might swing those arms forward as I sink my hips a little lower. And we can swing back and forth here. And you can feel the work in the legs right away. And of course it's a balance since we're standing. Now if you want to go a little higher, feel free. You can swing those weights all the way up in line with your head and then swing them back. And you can even stand as you swing them back and then kneel and raise the arms up and then swing them back as you stand. We'll just do that one more time. I like to inhale as I deepen my knees, lift the weights, and then exhale as I come back up. Good. All right, so that's our chair pose. Let's just take a breath. And I'm gonna move into warrior one. So I'm gonna walk toward the top of my mat so I have room to step back. I'm gonna lean into this other leg and step back with my right leg, stepping down. I wanna make sure that there's some space between my legs on different tracks here, so I have a nice, good balance. Bending into that front knee. We're just gonna take a few breaths. We still have those weights in our arms, in our hands here. And we're gonna slowly inhale as we lean forward. The weights slide back behind us and we're on a really nice diagonal. You can feel the weight in the back of your arms, good. Exhale, swing the arms forward, good. Okay, inhale and swing them back. Exhale and swing them forward. Good. Now I want to pull the weights in toward my chest and bend my elbows a lot. We're going to add a bend in the elbows. Now I'm going to inhale here, exhale as I lean forward and swing the weights behind me. Exhale as I come back up. And then inhale as I reach forward. With my arms only, yep. Exhale as I bring them back in. Good. Inhale as I lean forward, my hands go back. Exhale as I come back to center. Inhale, arms forward. And you can of course lean into this too, that adds to the weight. Yes, and then bring it all back in, good. And let those arms drop down. We're gonna move into warrior two on this side. So I'm gonna take my back foot and open it up. And maybe I'm going to heel toe it a little further back. I might kind of line it up with the heel of the front leg here. I'm still in a nice knee bend here so I can see my big toes. My big toe. All right, and then my arms are down at first, and this is the pose. Feels really good to just rest for a minute, take deep breaths. And then we begin to lift the arms upward. And at first my knuckles are facing down, the backs of my hands are lifting up. Then I'm going to turn my hands sideways, so that the palms are facing forward. Take a deep breath in here, maybe even swing the weight slightly back. On the exhale, bring everything forward, the hands coming toward each other. Ooh, I can feel that in the shoulders. Inhale to open. Exhale to close. Inhale to open. And lower the arms down. Good. Nice workout, guys. Straighten out the knee. Turn the toes forward. Take your hands to your hips with your weights there. And just take a minute to lean into the stretch. Very nice. Slowly rising up. We're going to turn these other toes out and move into warrior two first. And then we'll kind of go backwards out of the sequence. So again, you can use the weights again if you'd like. Lifting with the knuckles rising first. Then turning the palms forward. Inhale and exhale to bring the hands toward each other. Lengthen out your neck, good. Inhale. Use the soles of your feet to really support your pose here. It's a little wobbly because we've added this movement and the weight all at the same time. Good, one more time. Exhale, hands together. Inhale them apart and lower them down. Very nice. Okay, so we're still holding the weights, or you've put them down by now, I do not know. I'm gonna move toward my warrior one pose. So I'm gonna take the back foot and kind of heel toe it in a few steps. So I get a little taller until I can kick the heel back and move into warrior one. And I might step the foot in a step or two. Good. So now we're in warrior one. All right, now there's no wrong way to do the weights here, but I'm gonna move into the second variation that we did. I'm gonna start with the hands forward. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, pull the elbows and the weights in. Inhale, swing them back as I lean forward. Good. Exhale, back to center. Inhale, reaching forward. And you might lean forward too. Good. Oop, and fall over. Exhale, back into center. Inhale as you reach behind you with those weights. Okay, exhale to center. Inhale, reaching forward. Exhale, back to center. And one more time. Inhale. Exhale. And inhale. And exhale. All right, you guys. We're coming out of warrior two. The weights are at our side. We're gonna step forward. Take a little break. Shake your legs a little bit. Now you're gonna have some choices. If you want to, you can be done with the weights if you've had enough of them. Or you could pick up lighter ones. But I wanna do that sequence again and move back to where we were before. So we're gonna go through the whole thing again. So we start with top of the mat, mountain pose, nice long spine. Get those legs involved. Squeeze the thigh muscles up a little bit. Deep inhale, and on the exhale, start to sink into your chair pose. And maybe you're gonna keep your arms low the whole time. Maybe they swing up. Maybe you are swinging them back and then standing. Oops. We sink the hips, lift the weights, and then stand as we swing back. Yeah. If you want this movement, you keep this going, finding the breath. Just 3 times. When you've done your third, you're standing back in mountain pose. I'm gonna lean into the leg that's away from the camera and step back with the front leg. All right, warrior one. I'm gonna start with the hands reaching forward. You might have weights, you might have set them down. Inhale, and then exhale, pull the elbows and the weights in. Inhale, swing them back. Exhale, bring them to center. Inhale, reach them out. Exhale in. Inhale back. Just kind of keep going. If I'm going too quickly, slow yourself down. And then back. And that's all for that sequence. We bring the weights back to the waist, turning the back foot outward, and we might swing the foot back a few times, swivel it backward, moving into warrior two, keeping the front knee bent. Nice. So your legs are wide open now. Yes. We're gonna lift the arms, and you could just leave the weights right here and see how it feels to take 3 deep breaths. Or you could turn the palms forward and make the hands come together and open apart with your breath. Yes, inhaling to open, exhaling to close. And then the arms float down. And we straighten that knee, turn the toes forward, hands at the hips, lean into the stretch in the back of the legs. I don't want to go very far. I'm not going to round the back at all. Keep it nice and flat. Good. And then slowly rise up. Turning those other toes out. Warrior two first. Bend into that knee. Make sure you can still see your first 2 toes. And let's see if we have it in us to lift the arms one more time. Turn them forward. If you want to, just keep them right here as you breathe or move. Exhale, hands together. Inhale, hands open. And the arms arms float down. Good, and I'm gonna start to heel toe this back foot in a little bit. So I shorten my stance until I'm ready to be able to point the toes in the same direction as the front foot, kick the heel back so that now my hips have closed and they're pointing in one direction. And again, you have choices here. I don't know how you guys are staying up. I keep bumping into my wall. All right, I'm gonna inhale, arms forward, exhale, pull them in. You can all just keep the arms down or wherever you like. Always inhaling as we move away, exhaling as we come closer. Just 3 repetitions. And back to center. Good. We're going to step that back foot forward, back to mountain pose. Swing the hips a little bit. Very nice. Now you can set your weights down if you prefer. I'm gonna keep holding on to mine, see how long I can hold them. I wanna move into tree pose. So that's what makes this interesting, keeping the weights in our hands. I'm definitely gonna be right by my wall. I wanna encourage you to be right beside a chair, a bed, anything you can lean into if you start to kind of feel like you're gonna trip or fall sideways. Okay, wobbling is okay, remember that. Lean into one foot. Bend the knee forward, and I'm just going to do a low tree. I'm going to walk the sole of my foot to the inside of the ankle, maybe slide it up to the calf. Find that spot on the floor that doesn't move, and you can leave the arms down with those weights there, kind of helping pull you into the earth here, or you can lift them up, take them over your head, add that weight if you'd like, and breathe. And of course you can move, which adds a lot of difficulty to this one-legged balance. Or you can work with stillness, which means a lot of wobbling. Maybe another breath or two. If you're feeling really stable, stay. If you've had enough, then you'll come down and swing the legs, maybe a little bit of marching just to keep those hips fluid and warm before we take the other side. Just turning, making sure that support is right within reach. Other knee bends forward and opens up. Sole of the foot to the inner ankle or the calf there. You can always keep the ball of the foot on the floor. And then breathe. Feel free to come down whenever you're finished. Resting, swinging those hips. Very nice. I want to just come up onto my toes and kind of curl them under a few times, just getting that nice. I'm going to set my weights down. I think we've had enough with our weights today. We were able to hold them for quite a long time. Very nice. I'm just going to come up onto my toes a few times. I just want to make sure my feet get a little bit of attention here. Very nice. Okay. And we'll slowly start to come down, sliding the hands down the thighs, bending the knees. Really a supported forward fold, bringing the elbows to the thighs. Swinging those hips a little bit. Slowly stepping downward. You could step in your hands forward into your down dog as your feet step back, or drop your knees into table pose. We are all going to head toward child's pose and then onto our belly. Deep, deep breaths. Just taking your time. Kind of taking note of how you feel Hopefully your arms feel nice and warm. They might even feel kind of flexible, maybe a little bit wobbly. That's all good information. Just taking notes, no judgment at all. Working our way onto the belly. And right into Sphinx pose if your low back will allow it. You can always walk the elbows much farther forward to have a little less of a back bend. I like my legs kind of wide apart off the edges of my mat, in fact, but that's just my pelvis. So if yours prefers your legs in another position, please do that instead. I'm going to rock my heels a little bit and breathe right down into the belly, into that diaphragm muscle. We're going to practice one of our osteoporosis poses here, our Locust Pose. And of course there are many levels. There's about 3 different variations that I like. The hardest variation that I can hold the shortest is legs lifting off the floor, pubic bone pressing down, arms lifting off the floor, the bottom ribs are touching the ground as I breathe here. The second level is one leg, one arm, just across the body diagonal, maybe lifting and lowering a few times. And the third level is either just the arms are lifted off the floor, the chest, the neck, the head off the ground, the legs are resting, or the head and the arms are resting and only the legs are lifting, including the knees kind of pressing into that pubic bone. And then we're going to rest. Free to shift those hips if you need to. Deep breaths. I do want to take a moment here on our belly to release our low back, that lumbar sacral area. So I'm going to slowly turn my head to my left and start to slide my left knee sideways off the edge of my mat. I'm just going to rest here, breathing, letting that low back settle and soften. Just a little bit of yoga therapy here because we did a lot of work with our low back when we were standing. That's the part of the body we're trying to strengthen, so we did good. Take another breath and start to slowly stretch that leg back out. Just turn your head to the other side, or of course you can keep your chin on the floor. Anything that's comfortable for your neck as you start to slide the other knee sideways, right off the edge of the mat, and breathe. Lifting the head, straightening the leg out. I'm going to slowly make my way back up to table pose. My favorite way is to bring my elbows tight in under my chest, kind of start to walk them down the mat as my knees kind of crawl up and my hips get higher and higher so my low back stays nice and flat and I'm not rounding anything out here. I'm going to swing those hips, make some big circles. You might want to take a child's pose, letting the lumbar spine settle again as we slowly come to a seated position. We're just going to do one seated pose here. I'm going to take my blanket and make a good seat for myself as I stretch the legs out long in front of me, nice and long. I like to wiggle my toes and kind of look around the room and smile a little bit. Kind of amazed at the work that we've done. Very nice. Take the hands behind. I like to point my fingertips away from me, walking them back. And I'm staying up on my fingertips at first. Maybe I'll come down onto the palms if I like. Keep the heart lifting and start to press through the backs of the legs and curl those toes back toward your nose. Take a big breath or two. This is our osteoporosis staff pose, very safe for the spine, so we're not rounding it at all. Just one more breath. Start to walk the hands back in. Very nice. Let's bend our elbows a few times. The arm gets a little stretch in that leaning back way. Good. And I'm gonna make sure I have my strap nearby as I start to lie all the way down on the floor. And I wanna watch out not to round my back as I come down. The safest way is to turn sideways, lie down on your side, and then roll the knees upward. Safest for that lumbar spine that we always wanna protect from any rounding. Once we're here on our back, we let the back settle. Rock the knees a little bit. The feet can be anywhere that's comfortable. Taking deep breaths. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose and out the mouth. And then start to stretch the legs out one by one down the length of the mat. See how that works for your low back. You can always have a little bend in the knees if that's better for the lumbar spine. And I'm just going to cross my right ankle over my left. I'm not moving my feet. Everything's still in line with my hips. I'm just laying here with my ankles crossed. And you should feel a little tug in that right hip, the one that's connected to the foot that's on top. Let's take our arms over the head and just let them rest. And we're just going to take 2 breaths here. Lowering the arms down by the sides, uncross that ankle, flop the feet for a moment, and then cross the left ankle over. Just getting a little stretch through the hip. Feel free to add the arms over the head, take deep breaths. Arms floating back down, uncrossing those ankles and bending the knees, putting the feet back on the floor. Feel free to rock a little bit. Now we're going to move into what I like to call calf raises. So my thighs are going to stay side by side, and I'm just going to pick up my right foot and straighten the shin out to parallel with the kneecap, and then drop it back to the floor. So it's kind of in a 90-degree angle still when it lifts up and then lowers down, switching legs side to side. Just engaging the core. This is gentle core work. Yep. And the feet don't go very high here, but of course, if you're having fun, you can kick them all the way up. And if you'd like to make it a little more difficult, to me it's a lot more difficult, I like to slide my hands up under my low back, right under those back hip bones, and then zip the knees, the thighs together, and try to lift just the calves together up and down a few times. That's a lot of work for the low back, so be gentle. It's not necessary. All right, one more breath. And then settle the feet. If you have hands under, take them out and reach for your strap. We're going to bring the right knee into the chest and slide the right foot, the ball of the foot, right into the strap and reach up with the leg. Take nice deep breaths. Feel free to keep a little bend in this long leg that's in the strap. Feel free to keep the other knee bent or stretch the leg out along the length of the mat. And we're just going to do a little bit of engagement here. I like to walk the hands up as high as they'll go on my strap and grip the sides of the strap. And then I start to squeeze my shoulder blades down and under. Maybe I'm bending my knee a little more in the strap, but I'm getting a little tug in the strap. My arms are still there. The weight of my arms is being lifted by this leg. And then I'm going to start to push my foot into the strap and take 3 breaths here. So I'm engaging all the beautiful muscles of the leg. Sliding the hands down the strap, releasing the knee, letting it bend. Good, maybe bend it up and down a few times. As I bend the other knee and lift the other foot and put it in the strap. And take the first leg out, set it down, come into the pose. I really want to slide the strap right under the ball of the foot. This adds to a little bit of a calf stretch, and it also protects the bones of the foot. And then I'll choose to keep the other knee bent or stretch the leg out on the mat, letting the foot rest. And then walk those hands up the strap, getting nice and heavy. Maybe tuck the shoulder blades under, make the neck long as you push the foot into the strap for 3 deep breaths. You should get a little tiny bit of a shake here. Releasing the knee, the hands slide down. Maybe bend a few times as the strap comes off and we set it to the side. Good. And we're going to place both feet back on the floor. Knees are bending again. I'm going to walk my feet right off the edges of my mat and then rock the knees all the way to one side. Maybe take the arms out wide like wings, or in a cactus position with the elbows bent, anywhere that feels good to you. We're just rocking over to one side, kind of reposition the legs, the feet, so that you can really settle into the pose. Take a few deep breaths. Take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, push into the feet and lift the knees up. Take a breath in and when the knees are in the middle, and then exhale them over to the other side, settling into the stretch as you breathe naturally. Breathing in deeply, moving on the exhale to rock the legs back up to center. I'd like to just rock a few times, just moving slightly side to side. Good. Just keeping the hips full of that beautiful synovial fluid that is so important for keeping osteoarthritis at bay. I want to take a quick bridge pose before we come toward the very end of class here. So I'm going to walk my feet to a comfortable position. My hands are going to come down by my side. You can always have a block nearby to slide up under your hips if that's your favorite bridge. I'm going to squeeze the shoulder blades under, tuck them back, lift the heart, and then begin to lift my hips. And I might not go very far. Might keep them a little bit lower. Walk the feet away if there's any pain in the knee joint. If that pain persists, then please just come out of the pose, and you might definitely want to slide a block under your hips if the knees are hurting in the pressure of this lift. And we're just going to breathe and experience the shape, the strengthening of this pose. You can also choose to lift your hips up and down, moving with your breath. And you'll know when you're tired. And you'll just release and relax. Feel free to draw the knees into the chest or settle the feet into a butterfly shape, soles of the feet together, knees apart. Deep breaths here. We want to really let the body rest after that little bit of work. That's our last bit of work. And we'll move nice and slow, stretching the legs out one by one again. This time we are going to slide both feet together over toward the bottom left corner, the bottom left edge of the mat. I like to roll my hips a little bit and then settle everything flat on the floor. Both sides of the back touching the mat. And since I walked my legs over to the left, I'm going to turn my shoulders toward the left, my head toward the left edge, and then take that right arm over, maybe the hands touch, and we're going to breathe here in our banana shape, just spinal stretch up the outer edge of the body. People sometimes like to cross an ankle. Feel the breath. You can take the arm back down first and scoot the hips, the shoulders, and the head back, and then we slide the legs together over to the other side. Feel free to rock the hips a little as you get settled, and then make sure everything is flat on the floor as you add the head, the shoulders, and the arm, reaching over toward that long right edge of the mat this time. So they look a little bit like a banana on the floor. arm, the head and shoulders come back to center first, and then the legs. Maybe the legs are going to slide wide apart and the arms can reach out and you can stretch on a diagonal. Stretching through arm and leg, and then bringing the hands down, bringing the feet back to the mat, rocking those knees side to side, starting to mentally prepare for your Shavasana. Of course, if there is another pose that you wish you could do today, please do that too. And then move toward your relaxation. For some of us, it feels so good to put the block under the hips and stick the legs up in the air. That's a great one. Or you could put your legs up a wall or over a chair, a couch, or a bed. Or you could just keep the knees bent, knocking together, feet wide apart. Or you can stretch the legs out. There's so many good things to do here. And it changes from day to day what your body wants. So kind of asking yourself those questions. What do you want? And what will help you relax today? Wherever you decide to go, feel free to make those last wiggles and adjustments. Don't feel trapped, even in your Shavasana. We're looking for stillness, but we want to allow our body permission to get comfortable. So if one position doesn't work, try another one. And take deep breaths, moving into longer exhales. If you like to count the breath, you might count in to the count of 4 and breathing out to the count of 6, 7, or 8. Whatever works for you today. Just keep breathing and relaxing. I think I'll get out my Shruti box and just give us a little bit of sound in the background to just continue to relax. Feel free to hum. The vibration in the throat helps to relax the vagus nerve that runs from the base of the skull down through the entire torso, touching every organ. few more deep breaths. Really savoring the air. Feel it flow through your nasals, cavities, down into your throat and your lungs, and then flow back out again. And whenever you feel ready, add those little movements of fingers and nose and feet. Just take your time rolling over into seed pose, pausing for gratitude, or as you come to seated, just placing your hands on your heart as we breathe together for just the last minute of our time together in gratitude. Gratitude is such a healing practice for our minds and therefore our bodies as well. When we are happy and when we are grateful, the world around us is as well. And may we continue to change the universe one breath at a time, one thought of gratitude at a time. Thank you so much for strengthening your bodies with me today. That was fun. And I hope that it reaps good benefits. Namaste.